I'm reading from the book Rays of the One Light. These are Bible and Bhagavad Gita commentaries based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda and written by Swami Kriyananda. This week is entitled, The Law is Perfected in Love. In the Gospel of St. John, chapter 1, we read, The law was given by Moses, but grace and truth came by Jesus Christ. Grace means the power to rise spiritually. Truth means the experience of divine realities, not the application in the outer world of those experiences. Divine love is the soul's experience of oneness with God. Kindness is the human manifestation of that love. Grace is deeper than mere kindness. Wisdom is a divine experience. Justice to all is a human law, though divinely inspired. It follows as a consequence of the experience of wisdom. Truth goes deeper than mere justice. While following the law, we should strive always to trace it back to its origins in the vision of God. Therefore, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita urges the devotee not to be satisfied with spiritual precepts alone, but to go beyond them to the direct inner experience of truth. In the Bhagavad Gita, he says, Nay, but once more take my last word, my utmost meaning have. Precious thou art to me, right well beloved. Listen, I tell thee this for thy comfort. Give me thy heart. Adore me. Serve me. Cling in faith and love and reverence to me. So shalt thou come to me. I promise true, for thou art sweet to me. And let go those rites and writ duties. Fly to me alone. Make me thy single refuge. I will free thy soul from all its sins. Be of good cheer. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Well, that has always seemed like a Valentine from God to us. Let go those rights and writ duties, fly to me alone. So I'm going to tell a little story that sort of goes with this Valentine, and it also goes with the affirmation for security. And the Bhagavad Gita is one very slim chapter in a much, much greater epic, the Mahabharata. And what happens right after this chapter of the Bhagavad Gita that we refer to every week is that there's a big battle on the field of Kurukshetra. And it's a battle between the forces of light and the forces of evil. And Krishna and Arjuna are the head of the forces of good, the Pandavas. And the evil clan is the Kauravas. And this battle is about to take place. And so Krishna and Arjuna go in Krishna's chariot. Krishna has vowed to be Arjuna, the devotee's charioteer. And they go out onto the field of Kurukshetra the day before the battle. And they are there to sort of strategize for how to win this war. And the field is being cleared. There are men with elephants, and they're uprooting trees, and they're clearing this vast area so that huge armies and cavalries and elephants can be moved in to have this battle. So they're there in the chariot, and off in the distance, there's this one elephant that's uprooting a tree, and the tree has a little nest of sparrows way up, sheltered in the tree. And as the tree is uprooted and starts to fall, the tree sort of cradles this little nest until it's almost to the ground, and then it falls off of the tree onto the bare ground. And none of the birds are harmed. It's miraculous. But the mother sparrow sees how vulnerable her babies are, and she looks around for help. Who can help me? Who can save my children? And she sees Krishna way off in the distance. She's just a tiny little bird, but she flaps her wings with all her might, and she flies to Krishna, and she says, "Save my children, O Krishna. They will be crushed in this battle tomorrow, otherwise you have to save my children." And Krishna says, "I hear you, but I can't interfere with the law of nature." And the mother bird says, "Lord, you are the law. I commend my children into your hands. You can kill them or you can save them. It's up to you now." And Krishna says, well, the wheel of time moves indiscriminately, implying that he really couldn't do anything about it. And with great faith and reverence, the little sparrow says, "I don't know your philosophy. All I know is you are the wheel of time, and I surrender to you." And Krishna says, well, then store 3 weeks worth of food in your nest. And during this whole conversation, Arjuna is standing there trying to shoo the bird away because he thinks he's bothering Krishna, and he doesn't hear any of this. But then he sees Krishna smile, and the bird flutters her wings as though she's bowing to Krishna, and she flies off. So soon after, like the next morning, Krishna and Arjuna, this is the day of the battle, but the battle hasn't started yet. They're going to start with blowing conch shells, make this huge sound. So the battle hasn't started yet, but Krishna and Arjuna are out on the field surveying this vast battlefield, and Krishna sees an elephant out in the distance. And he says, "Arjuna, give me your bow." And Arjuna is startled because Krishna has vowed not to lift a weapon in this battle, in the whole war. He's not allowed to. He's vowed not to. And besides, Arjuna thinks he's the better archer. So he says with great confidence, "Lord, just order me where to shoot. There's nothing impenetrable to my arrows." And Krishna just quietly takes the bow and doesn't pay any attention to Arjuna. And he aims at this huge elephant way out in the distance. And he aims and shoots, and he misses the elephant. And instead he severs the rope around the elephant's neck that is holding this huge iron bell. And the rope breaks and the bell falls on the ground. Well, Arjuna can barely contain his chuckles. Krishna missed this huge target out there. And so he says, "Lord, would you like me to finish off the elephant for you since you missed it altogether?" And Krishna hands him back the bow, and he says, no other action is necessary. And Arjuna is filled with questions. And he's like, Lord, why this particular elephant? Why did you shoot at that and you missed? And all that happened was that the bell fell on the ground. I don't understand. And Krishna said, that's the elephant that uprooted the tree that that sparrow's nest was in. And Arjuna goes, what sparrow? And Krishna just says, never mind, just blow your conch. And so the battle begins. And the battle lasts for 18 days, night and day. There's a tremendous loss of life. But in the end, the Pandavas win. Krishna and Arjuna, side of light and goodness, wins. And soon after the battle is over and the victory has been won, Krishna and Arjuna are again on the battlefield, and they're picking their way through this terrible carnage of corpses of men and horses and elephants. And Krishna goes to one particular spot, and he's looking down at this elephant bell. And he says, Arjuna, lift this bell up and put it aside. And Arjuna is thinking, the field is full of things to be cleared. Why is he interested in this one insignificant piece of metal? And Krishna answers Arjuna's thoughts, and he reiterates, yes, this bell. You pick up this bell, put it aside. And Arjuna picks up this heavy bell, and 5 birds fly out. A mother bird and 4 healthy babies flying for the first time. And Arjuna says to Krishna, forgive me, Lord. Seeing you in a human body, mixing with us mortals, I forgot who you really are. And this story illustrates the fact that the law, all the laws, the laws of nature and the laws of yoga, like the yamas and the niyamas, all those are guidelines for us. And the reason that they exist is so that we can attune ourselves to God, so that we can figure out what is right and what is wrong. And the more that we attune ourselves to God's laws, we get in alignment with His consciousness. And the more that we do that, the more that we love Him. The laws weren't made as a goal in themselves. They were made to help us to learn where the right path to happiness is. And so the more that we love God, the more that we realize, just like that little bird, we let go of rights and duties, and we fly to God alone, who is above the law. He is the law. He is the wheel of karma. We don't have to go through every single bit of karma to expiate all the sins of our past. All we have to do is resist and love God and leave it all to Him, like the little sparrow. I surrender to you, Lord. And in that way, we're lifted out of our karma. We don't have to pay every price. We're free if we love God with our whole hearts.
All right, what is it? This little thing doesn't like to stay put sometimes. Anyway, you need to turn this monitor down if you can. It's just about the feedback. Thank you. This story that Nirmala told is very timely to the topic and touches on the affirmation security, because often in this world, often in this life, what sort of impedes our ability or our willingness to offer our love is this feeling that, but I'm not safe, or I don't know, I can't see beyond the veil. I can't see around the corner of my life. What's going to happen around that turn? There's a fascinating story of a master and his disciple, and this woman was full of fear and would often express it in the sense of, but what about this? What about that? What about the other thing? And he, patiently answered for a long, long time. But one fine day, but she was practicing, but one fine day she said, but what if I die? And he said, die then. And she did. And that was that. and the interesting thing is that, typically you sort of expect for the happy ending, and then he touched her and she came back to life and she learned a great lesson, and well, that didn't happen in this go around. She did actually die. But see, what's interesting about it is that she didn't really die. Yes, her body died. Okay, this lifetime ended, but her spirit learned a fascinating lesson and a powerful lesson that she would not forget in subsequent lifetimes, that I'm not the body. This, kind of heart congealing fear doesn't have to define my life. And she could grow beyond that. And that's what the masters are always trying to show us. They're always trying to show us a higher vision, a higher way. This song that we sang at the beginning of service today was, in a sense, my ticket into Ananda, because or gave me the understanding that I was home. This was the very first Sunday service I ever attended in the fall of 1979, and this was the first song that they sang, just like we did before Sunday service began. And they hadn't even got done with the first verse before the tears were running down my cheeks, and it was like, okay, we're home. This is it. Walk like a man, even though you walk alone. Well, I had felt very alone coming to Ananda because, nobody else in my family, nobody else that I knew had the slightest interest in that sort of thing. The spiritual life, a deeper level of commitment. It's like, what? Excuse me? Why would you want to do that? Why court approval once the road is known? Let come who will, but if they all turn home, the goal still awaits you. Go on alone. And that was a message that resonated profoundly for me. And I guess I could say it resonates still. Interestingly, Swamiji used to call that song the theme song for cooperative communities. Now, which may seem like a little bit of a non sequitur. Go on alone, cooperative communities, that's like groups of people and we're all doing this together, and excuse me, how does that work? Well, what he was saying is that you can't have strength of community without individual strength. And that strength has to come from within. Nobody can tell you, oh, you have to stand up for yourself and you have to decide. I mean, they can say the words, but they can't make the determination in your own heart. That has to come from inside. And in a sense, it has to come from suffering. It has to come from the lessons learned, like the lady in the story I told about, but what if I die? Well, die then. It's okay. You can die. It's all right. And she did. And then, next lifetime, she doesn't have to fight her way through that particular thing. She's learned a little bit more. We face those same tests and we think, okay, but we look around and it's like, oh, but I want the world to approve. I want everybody else to think it's good, it's okay, it's right. I love the rest of the song is also touching on the heart. Follow your dream, though it lead to worlds unknown. You think, wow, I have a dream, but it's going to take me places that I am not familiar with. Well, that's not comfortable. Life's but a shadow once our dreams have flown. In other words, you don't want to just give it up just because other people tell you to. What if men cry, your dream is not our own, your soul knows the answer, go on alone. And then the third verse I just have always loved, give life your heart. Bless everything that's grown. Fear not the loving, all this world's your own. Make rich the soil, but once the seed is sown, seek freedom, don't linger, go on alone. This is the example that Swamiji and Master and all the great ones have given us through their own lives. And we see it sort of written out step by step. Swamiji could have been a successful conqueror of the world in business, in art, in philosophy, in music, in many, many different ways. But he wanted spiritual realization. When he came to Yogananda, he had two desires. One, to find God. And two, to share with everyone else that he could whatever he had learned, whatever he had gained. And Yogananda saw this. Now, it's interesting because having spent a lot of time with Swamiji, we could observe with him, seeing him in action, that his personality was not, interestingly, for someone who had such a public role, his personality was not the sort that desired to be in public, that desired fame, or that desired a lot of commotion around him. He was actually very private. He preferred to be alone. He preferred peace and quiet. And so what did he do? Master said, get out there. Have a public role. Have a great work to do. Create communities. And interestingly, this song I'm referring to, Walk Like a Man and Go On Alone, which is sort of the theme of it, was supplanted later in Ananda's evolution by the song Many Hands Make a Miracle as the theme song of cooperative communities. Which is to say that the evolution of the community was such that there were enough people going on alone together that we didn't need to keep emphasizing the go on alone part. Now we could say, you know what, kids? Many hands make a miracle. Let's all do this together. Let's enjoy the path together. Let's share the blessing and the magnetism of that life. But think of, Master the same way. He wanted to go to the Himalayas. He was always trying to escape family life, get to the Himalayas, get to the Ganges, the caves, find a guru up there. And it wasn't, life kept steering him back to the city. Even Sri Yukteswar, if he meets his guru, they have this incredible rapport, this, loving, deep, sharing their love, giving each other their unconditional love. And at the end of the meeting, Sri Yukteswar says, I want you to go back to Calcutta. And Master says, no, I won't. I'm not going there. I'm not going back to my family. I have left that life. I'm done. Sri Yukteswar says, I will see you in 1 month in Calcutta. You will come. Well, he finally does. But it's interesting because it took that degree of willingness to follow a higher way. His desire was to be solitary, to roam by the Ganges, to be in love with God, to be drunk with God's love. And that's not the life that the Master gave him. So he had this very public work to do, and we are the beneficiaries of it. And what does God play through our lives? What melody, what drama, what dream comes through our lives? That's for each one of us to answer. But I will suggest to you that each one of us can give to someone else or some other people some blessing that we have received from the Masters, from God. And however that flows through your life to offer to someone else, help them to feel the same peace, the same joy, the same love, the same devotion in the way that they can receive. That blessing is incumbent upon all of us, because otherwise what happens is our little cup gets filled up to the brim. But if it doesn't flow, if there's no flow to it, if it's just a little cup, eventually it sort of gets stale, stagnant, dusty, whatever. It has to become a river. It has to become a flow of grace. And when it is, then we always have it. You know, they say, we have walked by the river thousands of times down here, the American River. We love to walk along that trail. They say that no river is the same from one moment to the next. You know, you're looking at the river, you see this river, well, 1 second later, 5 seconds later, it's a different river because it has moved on. That flow of grace, but if you stick your hands in the water, you know, 2 seconds later, it may be different water that's in your hands, but because it's flowing, at least there's water there. That's how the blessings of God come to us and through us in such a way that we can actually have them. We can't possess them, or at least not for very long. I mean, yes, you can take a bucket down there and pull a pail of water out of the river, but now it's not river anymore. Now it's a bucket of water. Okay, well, if you want to douse it over your head or something, you have water to do with. But the river itself is what we're looking for, that flow of life, that flow of grace, that flow of magnetism. The law is perfected in love because we go to a higher law, we go to a higher level where we attune ourselves to that love. And then we're not asking, we already know. We're not wondering, we're not worrying, we're already in that state of connection. And that blessing is for each one of us to share. So feel in your life, are you the little sparrow fluttering in front of Krishna saying, I've got this family, I've got these needs, I've got this situation. Krishna pitched it pretty hard at her. I mean, he was like, I can't help you. The law, the wheel of time, the tumpty, it's like, honey, I can't help this. And she's like, I'm sticking with you, okay? I'm not backing down, I'm sticking with you. Is that comfortable? No, it's not. This beautiful little Whispers reading finishes with the words, chisel thou my life according to thy design. Now, if you're the block of marble, it might not be super fun to have somebody hacking away at you with a chisel, and stuff flies off and you go, wait a minute, I like that piece. That was a good piece. That piece had character. I want that piece back. It's like, sorry, it's gone. It's in the pile down there. It's going to turn into, marble dust. We have to be willing to let go of some control over the situation and join that river, join that love, that devotion. And then, yes, we have security because it's not bound in this world. You try to have security in this world and, oh my God, a bomb goes off or God knows what happens. I mean, it's just this world, it's always going to change. But you have security in God. There's nowhere you can go. We can't die. We can only go into the light more fully, and that's our true destiny. So we'll take an